911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Good evening, everybody. How are you all? Welcome to Behind the Crime Door. It's good to see everyone. Hey, Lynn. How are you? Hey, Cool Gamer. Hey, Deborah. Hi, Willow Rain. Yeah, Deborah, I hear we are supposed to get some rain. It was weird. It was in the 50s, middle 50s today. It was really warm. Odd. We're having really strange weather. That's all I can say. But yeah. I apologize ahead of time, you guys. I am getting a cold. Yay me. I'm absolutely positive it's not my allergies. But my sinuses are all plugged up and my head is not feeling really, really good tonight, but we'll get through this together. Hey, 63 Clocks, how are you doing? It's good to see you here. But, yeah, I got all my Christmas decorations are all up. My outside decorations are all up. So the weather can do whatever it wants to now because I don't have to worry about anything because it's all done. So I feel good about that part. So tonight, yeah, it's my head is just like, hey, Mark, How are you, my dear? It's good to see you. Hi, Boston. How are you? Hey, Tech Death. How are you, my dear? Good to see you, as always. So, yeah, I, um, I've been working out in the pool a lot and, maybe going in and out of the with I don't know. I don't really know. I haven't really been there hasn't been, like, a ton of people when I'm at the gym, so I don't know. I don't really think that was it that's it. I didn't do any Black Friday stuff. I stayed in because I didn't wanna be in the middle of all of that. So, yeah, I mean, anything's possible, but I just know that I'm starting to get one. So, I guess I should consider myself lucky. There's people out there right now that have pneumonia and stuff. So, knock on wood that my asthma stays under control. It's been wonderful. And so, yeah, I do have, I actually have a humidifier in my office right over there because of all of my plants. The plants that I have are called Hoyas and they are from the tropics. So they like a lot of humidity. So I always have a humidifier going in the room with me. Um I thought about maybe taking a hot shower and seeing if I could with some Vicks bombs. I think I have a couple of those things that you drop in the bottom of your shower. Maybe that'd open it up, but I'll try that. Um Deborah, because I do have some ginger tea and that might help as well. All good suggestions. Hey, Melissa, how are you? And welcome, Cecil Hotel. It's always good to have you here. But so I'm assuming that everybody already knows because I know I'm a little late. I was thinking about going live on Tuesday night, but it just I'm so glad you're here for a live, Mark. I'm really glad. Um, but I'm fine with you seeing it on replay as well. I appreciate everyone who watches no matter when. Um, but I was thinking about going live on Tuesday night. And then one thing led to another. I got really busy. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to wait because I bet you there's something else coming. And lo and behold, here we are. um, so yeah, we had responses from Judge Gull, which she had to give her response to the court by Monday, which she did. And then the attorney general also weighed in, which didn't really surprise me much, but there's been a lot of speculation and stuff made as to why the attorney general did not agree to represent Judge Gull in this matter. And I didn't expect that, honestly. So we're going to talk about what has transpired with these filings and um, and how this is affecting this case. And are we going to see this ship righted anytime soon? Because right now I feel like it's kind of listing a little bit. And hey, Sierra, how are you? Good to see you. Um, and the only reason I say that is because just of the perception. I think the court will all get ironed out. I honestly believe that all of these things will get fixed one way or another. We will either end up with a new judge in this case, and then have the new attorneys, or we will end up with the old attorneys, with the old judge. I mean, there's just so many different scenarios here. But yeah, my own self, when I think about this and everything that's been transpiring for the last 6 weeks, is I'm just over it. I want a resolution. I want them to decide what's going on, get it fixed so that we can get on moving on down the road with the case. I wanted to mention in regards, because I've been watching a lot of live streams, and some of them have been so, so good. Oh, that is so funny, Mark. Well, if she ends up destroying it, just let me know. I'll send you another one. Okay? So just let me know. My Finn baby, who's my fur baby, he can be very ornery. Right now, he is sitting on top of my router, and he knows he's not supposed to do that, but it's warm, and he wants to be by me. I was out and about a lot today, and he hates it when I'm not home. He's gotten used to me being retired and being with him, and he doesn't like it when I'm not here. Hey, Jamie, good to see you. um, and oh, that's so funny about Ruckus. Ruckus does do what he wants. He doesn't care. He tells us that all the time. But yeah, I've watched some really good live streams this past week about Delphi and a lot of what has been going on. And there's been a lot of different opinions and stuff about what's been happening with all of the judicial part of this case. And I think it just depends on who you ask. And one of the things I want to tell you is whenever you're listening to professionals, whether it be prosecutors or, sorry, I have the hiccups, prosecutors or defense attorneys, always remember what side of the law they represent, because that's the opinion you're going to get. You're going to get a defense perspective. You're going to get a prosecutorial perspective when talking to attorney generals and prosecutors, because, and the same with defense attorneys. I don't know a defense attorney that's going to go out on national television or go, on the record in print and say anything negative about a defendant or defense. Stop and think about it. That's their advertisement. That's how they get recognized as good attorneys. And you're not going to hire somebody that's out there bashing the defense on somebody's case. You're just not. You're not going to want that person representing you. So a lot of it is optics. And I am constantly bombarded with emails from not only my viewers, but my critics who don't understand why I don't embrace completely everything that Bob Motta says. And all I'm saying is that you're getting a biased opinion from him based upon the fact that he is a defense attorney and he is going to side with the defense. And you should expect that. So that's all I wanted to say on that. I think Bob Mott is great. I think he's professional. He's got a wealth of knowledge on all of that. But as far as being objective, I don't. I just don't understand. I just don't understand that. But anyway, Um, yes, exactly 63 clocks. Very, very well said. It is like going to the surgeon. Most likely when you go into a surgeon's office, they're going to recommend surgery. They're not going to tell you to go home and take 2 aspirin and call your general doctor in the morning. They're just not. They're surgeons. They're supposed to cut. That's what they do. So, it's it's just food for thought when you're out there and you're partaking of all of the content regarding Delphi. And believe me, there is a ton. And there's so many new faces on YouTube. I when I switch on, I have YouTube Premium because I don't like the ads. So I just that's something that when I came on YouTube, I decided to do. So I don't have to see those, but um I have all of these recommendations that come into my feed, and I can't believe all the new um, things that I've seen, new creators that are creating content on Delphi. Um, yeah, Jamie, I just caught the very beginning of that and had to leave, so I haven't got to watch all of it, but so far I've enjoyed it as well. I enjoy them and I like listening to their podcast. I've listened to them for a couple of years and I always like their perspective on things. I like to get both sides of perspective um, because it causes me to think and sometimes to think outside the box kind of. And hold on one second. Um, sorry. My son-in-law was texting me. So um I like to broaden my mind when it comes different aspects of this case. So listening to people I don't agree with sometimes is a good thing. Um oh yeah, Jamie, Alice is very passionate. She is a very passionate lady. And thank you. I don't know that I belong on that same pedestal, but thank you, Jamie, very much so. I appreciate that. Um, yes, Angela, he was interviewed, and I'm wondering if that will get brought up at some point, as far as him not really possibly being the one to represent Richard Allen because of him stating that and having commented on such strong evidence, because that's huge evidence against his client. So um I really wonder how that's going to play out. I guess we're just going to have to kind of wait and see. Um I think that you know, with everything that's been going on and us waiting and waiting to hear what's going to happen with the Supreme Court, is the Supreme Court going to actually weigh in on the filings that were filed with them, or are they going to send it down to a lower court to have them look at it first, the appellate court? Because or are they going to send it back to the trial court? Because they have their options to do either or. They can send it back to Judge Gull and say, deal with this. They could send it back for the appellate court to give their opinion and have the appellate court deal with it. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Um, at this point, the way things are going, I'm not sure we're going to hear from them before the end of the year. And I really hope that we do, because with the hey, Cecil, thank you so much for your super sticker and for helping to sponsor my live stream tonight. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Um, I think that whatever does happen we just need to get on with it. I mean, I really kind of agree with Ruckus on that. Let's just figure it out and get on with it. So I'm sure the families feel that way. And I know that all of us who have been following this case religiously feel the same way. It just seems like we take a few steps forward and then we take about 29 steps backwards. And it's just it can be daunting at times. But I wanted to go over tonight what the response was from Richard Allen. And his response to Judge Gull and the Attorney General's objections to their motion that was brought before the Supreme Court. Now, this layout of these responses have been so close to almost exactly the same format. I'm just floored by that, since we saw such crazy stuff from the old defense attorneys. And so when I've been given these documents to look at, I'm just like, wow, it's so nice to see things that are in order and make sense and are in language that we can understand and all of that. And hey, Mark, thank you so much for supporting the live stream. I appreciate you a lot. Thank you. Thank you. So let's get into it. And then we're going to talk about it and see what you guys' thoughts are on all of this. But this is the summary that they set forth. This writ is the only remedy. Any trial without Baldwin and Rosie, Rick's counsel of choice, would be merely for show. Only 2 lawyers can be ready for a speedy trial and carry out Rick's well-developed trial strategy. And only 1 court can grant that relief: this court. If action is not taken now, Rick's trial will be delayed longer and even more public resources will be spent. But more importantly, the public's trust in the judiciary will be permanently undermined while the world watches. An appeal is inadequate. First of all, I just want to say the Supreme Court is not the only court that can grant that relief. The appellate court can grant that relief as well. As far as a speedy trial, it seems to me that Richard Allen waived his right to a speedy trial way back after he was arrested. It has to happen within so many days after the arrest. And I just don't see how they can demand that 70-day trial date at this point in time. I don't even see that as being responsible as attorneys to even ask for that. But that's just me, especially now that the old attorneys aren't on the case. But anyway, it's obvious that they want the old attorneys reinstated. So let's move on. This case represents the paradigm situation for a writ of mandamus. This court routinely relies on its original jurisdiction to address claims where attorneys have been or should have been disqualified. They go on and they cite a ton of citations of court cases. I'm not going to read those tonight. And the respondent and the attorney general do not dispute this fact. The unlawful disqualification of a lawyer strikes at the heart of the public trust in the integrity of the judicial process and requires this court to invoke its inherent authority to supervise the conduct of lower courts. A. Respondent severed the attorney-client relationship on her own motion and over Rick's objection. Respondent misapplies State versus Jones versus Knox Superior Court when she argued that a writ is inappropriate. In Jones, this court denied a writ of mandamus and prohibition petition that challenged the trial court's decision to disqualify criminal defense counsel in a murder case. There, the attorneys initiated their own withdrawal. This court did not deny the writ for failing to have a clear, unequivocal right to reinstatement of counsel, but because this court will not countermand the trial court's ruling that placed defense counsel in precisely the position their motion indicated their willingness to be. This court did not doubt for a moment that a court-initiated discharge would properly fall within the court's original jurisdiction. This court is generally of the view that a trial court is limited in its authority to remove a criminal defendant's court-appointed counsel. Here, respondent made it clear that she was discharging attorneys Baldwin and Rosie on her own motion, regardless of how defense counsel proceeded or what the prosecutor wanted her to do. Respondent initially suggested defense counsel just read between the lines regarding what she was saying. You're a lawyer. Reading between the lines is what you do for a living. Eventually, she made it clear that she was unequivocally severing the attorney-client relationship and that there was no situation where attorneys Baldwin and Rosie could proceed with representing Rick. Mr. Rosie. So basically what you're saying, you guys either quit on your own accord or you make me fire you. That's what the court. No, I'm saying to you that this is what I plan to say in court on the record when we convene at 2:00. Mr. Rosie. Well, is the culmination of that you're removing us from the case? The court. I will, based on what I've just shared with you. Mr. Rosie. Okay, we'll just want to make sure that we are the court. And I'm just giving you the opportunity to have a conversation, which, how do you want that to go? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, but I will if I have to. Respondent acknowledged that the prosecutor had initially asked to remove defense counsel during an informal phone call, but she concluded that she did not need a formal hearing on that request or even a pleading on file because she was acting to sever the entire defense team on her own motion. Mr. Rosie. I'm extremely, I'd say frustrated's probably a soft word with the idea that we showed up today without any real opportunity to prepare for any of this. And I just think it's improper. And that's where I am. And that's my position. The court. Well, I think we talked about when you, the prosecutor, asked for a disqualification, and I indicated on our phone conversation, I'm inclined to do that. Mr. Rosie, it was a phone conversation that was not on the record and then some follow-up emails. The court, true. The affidavit, and this is in the footnotes, the affidavit from attorneys Baldwin and Rosie and the email correspondence between the parties provide helpful context for this discussion and eliminate any ambiguity regarding who and what the judge is referring to here. The Attorney General has objected to these exhibits. The objection to these two exhibits, exhibits L and V, should be overruled. To the extent that any of the facts recounted above are derived from the portions of the record to which the state objects, they are not pertinent to the legal issues here and simply provide context. Chief Justice Shepard, considering affidavits from defense counsel and various other letters filed by the Attorney General when deciding whether the Chief Justice should vacate his decision to disqualify himself from a case. Exhibit U, the affidavit of Westerman, was filed in the proceeding below on October 18th, 2023. Mr. Rosie, there's an informality to that. The court, true. Mr. Rosie, and you also said that you hadn't even done any research, and you hadn't, had time to talk to your senior judge and all these other things. And the prosecutor hasn't filed a pleading with the court either. The court, no, I'm doing this on my motion. Attorneys Rosie and Baldwin offered an alternative to avoid eliminating the entire defense team and to ensure some semblance of continuity of counsel and efficient administration of justice, but respondent flatly rejected that request. Mr. Rosie, is there a scenario where the court would accept if I stayed in this case? I'm a team player, and I'm not the kind of guy that just bails out on somebody just for the sake of doing it. But I think it's obvious that, Attorney Baldwin can speak differently, but I'm not as connected to some of, this most recent circumstances as Baldwin is. Mr. Allen is in a situation where he's going to have counsel if he has new counsel, it's going to take them a year to get up to speed with the depth of information that continues to come in. And so I think his Sixth Amendment rights matter. And I'm probably the one that can at least move this thing forward with some sense of judicial economy. I don't like it, and that's not what I intended to do when I came in here today, but that would be kind of a worst case scenario on our side. So is that an option that the court would entertain? The court, no. Attorneys Rosie and Baldwin spoke privately with Rick and returned to chambers to advise the judge that Rick objected to severing the attorney-client relationship. He wants us to continue with his representation. Attorney Rosie and Baldwin suggested that the respondent hear this directly from Rick. Mr. Rosie, I think it's appropriate that the court let him speak into the record his thoughts, unless the court just accepts that as notice that these are his opinions. They expressed concerns that Rick's rights against self-incrimination would be prejudiced if he was forced to speak on the public record without a counsel. So they suggested bringing Rick into chambers. It seems a little bit of a difficult position to put a man who's accused but not been found guilty, to put him in a courtroom and have him, have to speak in this circumstance with 15-minute notice. I think it's appropriate that the court lets him speak into the record. The judge declined to hear from Rick directly because it would make the DOC uncomfortable and because she would not be comfortable having him in her office. The judge removed attorneys Rosie and Baldwin over their and Rick's objections. B. Respondent had an absolute duty to refrain from severing the attorney-client relationship. Not a single Indiana case has tolerated similar behavior from a trial judge. There are only two narrow situations in Indiana where a trial court has jurisdiction to sever the attorney-client relationship against the client's wishes. The lawyer is not a member of the state bar, or the lawyer has an actual conflict of interest that will obstruct his ability to provide effective representation. No Indiana court has ever tolerated a trial judge removing a lawyer from a case over the client's objection based on anything other than these two reasons. And throughout their 8,000 words and nearly 50 pages of briefing, the responding parties failed to present a single Indiana case tolerating this behavior from a trial judge. Every Indiana disqualification case cited by the responding parties involves one of the following: a conflict of interest, an unlicensed attorney, or a judge being reversed because she removed a lawyer from a case for some other reason. Attorneys Rosie and Baldwin were licensed attorneys without any conflict of interest. The judge had an absolute duty to refrain from severing the attorney-client relationship. C. The respondent obstructed the attorney-client relationship for reasons totally unconnected to the Sixth Amendment. When respondent severed the attorney-client relationship, she was acting on subjective opinions about the defense's conduct outside the courtroom, not on any Sixth Amendment concerns that might alter the trial's outcome. Respondent argues that attorneys Baldwin and Rosie committed multiple violations of the rules of professional conduct and that she acted to protect relators' Sixth Amendment right to effective assistance of counsel. The rules of professional conduct are not coextensive with the Sixth Amendment guarantee of assistance of counsel. Ethical standards can apply to a broad range of attorney conduct totally unconnected to the Sixth Amendment. And the Sixth Amendment is concerned with deficient performance that has a reasonably probability to alter the trial's outcome. Attorneys Baldwin and Rosie did not violate any ethical rules. Really? I'm surprised that's even in there. It's ethical to release crime scene photos and to leave them laying around unsecured so anyone can see them? And the judge, if she believed there was a violation of the rules of professional conduct, should have reported the violation in accordance with her obligation under Rule of Judicial Conduct 2.15. But this never occurred, despite respondent claiming there was a violation of the ethical rules nearly a year ago when counsel issued a press release in November of 2022 affirming Richard Allen's innocence. In any event, respondents' subjective concerns with attorneys Rosie and Baldwin are wholly unrelated to the Sixth Amendment. Respondent's primary ground for her subjective belief about counsel's performance was the evidence leak discovered in October. Yet Attorney Baldwin was a victim of a crime allegedly committed by Mitch Westerman, who surreptitiously took photographs of evidence. Law enforcement, a prosecutor, and the Johnson Superior Court have reviewed this matter and found probable cause to believe that Attorney Baldwin was a victim of a crime. And they cite the case against Mitch Westerman, State versus Westerman, cause number 41D03 2311-CM-1119. What happened to Attorney Baldwin in October and the other instances cited by the respondent in no way affected the quality of representation attorneys Baldwin and Rosie provided Rick and did not disrupt their trial strategy. D. Rick clearly and repeatedly asked the respondent to refrain from severing the attorney-client relationship, but she acted anyway. Disqualification was first mentioned by the state in a telephone conference on October 10th, 2023, and the very next day, Rick unequivocally affirmed in writing that he still wanted attorneys Baldwin and Rosie to represent him. Trial counsel filed Rick's letter with the court and included a lengthy letter to the court that explained that the court lacked jurisdiction to disqualify counsel because there was no conflict of interest. That same day, the trial court ordered counsel to cease working on Rick's case. Before the hearing on October the 19th, Attorney Baldwin retained counsel and filed a memorandum, again informing the trial court that it lacked jurisdiction to remove counsel absent a conflict of interest. During an in-chambers proceeding held before the hearing in open court, when respondent revealed that on her own motion she was disqualifying counsel, Attorney Rosie argued that respondent lacked the authority to do so. After the in-chambers proceeding, Attorney Rosie filed a notice informing the court that he was remaining on the case as Rick's attorney, as well as a motion for respondent's recusal. The court struck the pleadings and indicated it would take no action on them. Attorney Baldwin, by his counsel, filed a motion to reconsider his removal as counsel, arguing that respondent lacked jurisdiction to disqualify counsel, particularly considering that a motion for her recusal was pending. Respondent did not take any action on the motion. The day before the next scheduled hearing in Rick's case, attorneys Baldwin and Rosie entered their appearance on Rick's behalf as private counsel. At the hearing, Rick's attorneys argued again that the court had no authority to remove them as counsel. On each of the 6 occasions mentioned above, attorneys Baldwin and Rosie informed the court that the respondent lacked jurisdiction to disqualify them. The claim was clearly and repeatedly presented to the trial court, but the trial court chose to act contrary to her absolute duty to refrain from severing the attorney-client relationship. Respondent delayed the efficient administration of justice. Respondent's conduct in this case was particularly harmful because severing the attorney-client relationship delayed the efficient administration of justice. The Attorney General argues that the need for efficient administration of justice should be balanced against a defendant's Sixth Amendment rights. Indeed, Indiana courts do not require judges to unflinchingly grant continuances or delay proceedings so a defendant can bring in counsel of his choice on the eve of a trial. Trial court balancing a defendant's right to go to trial in a timely manner with defendant's desire to delay proceedings indefinitely while he waited for his preferred attorney to recover from a potentially fatal medical condition. A defendant's last-second gamesmanship for a new lawyer causes substantial loss of time for jurors, lawyers, and the court. But the opposite situation occurred here. The respondent delayed the proceedings to insert counsel of her choice. When the judge severed the attorney-client relationship in October, trial was scheduled to begin on January the 8th, 2024. Rosie and Baldwin spent nearly a year reviewing the voluminous discovery, conducting depositions, developing a speedy trial strategy, and pursuing a defense of third-party guilt. Attorneys Baldwin and Rosie were active members of and in good standing with the Indiana Bar, and they told the judge they were ready to try this case in January. There is nothing in the record suggesting otherwise. The judge, on the other hand, had not ruled on several of Rick's substantive motions. The Franks memo, which sought to suppress the warrant search that uncovered a firearm, has been pending since September 18th, 2023. As of October 31st, 2023, respondent had not finished reading the motion. The motion for the state to produce Rule 404 and 405 evidence, which would inform counsel's decision whether to put Rick on the stand, had been pending for nearly a year. Also pending is an August 8th, 2023 request for transcript of the June 15th hearing, which counsel needed for use at a deposition and hearing. Finally, a motion in limine on ballistics evidence has been pending since June 13th, 2023. The motion seeks to exclude purported expert testimony that an unspent cartridge found near the crime scene had been cycled through a gun found in Rick's home. A ruling from this motion is obviously critical to the efficient administration of justice. When respondent severed the attorney-client relationship, she was not balancing the Sixth Amendment right against the efficient administration of justice. On the contrary, she violated the Sixth Amendment when she inserted counsel of her choice and delayed all proceedings, denying Rick, the victims, the witnesses, and the public the efficient administration of justice. The remedy on appeal is non-existent. Only an original action can achieve a speedy trial with attorney Rosie and Baldwin at the helm. Rick is a pre-trial detainee who is over 50 years old, has deteriorating health, and is housed in prison among individuals who have been convicted of crimes. He files this writ asking for attorneys Rosie and Baldwin to be reinstated, to remove the trial judge, and to mandate a trial within Criminal Rule 4B1's timeframe. Only this court can deliver that relief. The responding parties failed to address the interwoven connection between Rick's speedy trial request and the respondent's Sixth Amendment violation. Here, murder charges were filed on October 28, 2022, and the parties agreed to set this case for trial on January 8, 2024, which was outside the Criminal Rule 4C period. Rick had a right to assume trial would be held on that date. Rosie and Baldwin spent nearly a year reviewing the voluminous discovery, conducting depositions, developing a speedy trial strategy, and pursuing a defense of third-party guilt so they would be ready for trial on January 8th. Attorneys Baldwin and Rosie were ready to try this case as scheduled. The respondent severed the attorney-client relationship over Rick's objection and thrust new attorneys upon him who are unprepared for a 3-week trial scheduled to commence in 3 months. On January 8th, 2024, no attorney coming into this case could be ready for a trial of this complexity within that time frame. Only attorneys who have worked on this case for over a year could be prepared. In short, only attorneys Baldwin and Rosie can be ready for trial within the limits of Criminal Rule 4. A direct appeal after a jury trial is wholly inadequate. Trial has already been continued as the request of the new public defenders by 10 months to October of 2024, and the trial may very well be continued again. When trial eventually proceeds, there will be an unresolved Sixth Amendment issue. Carroll County, Allen County, the witnesses, the victims' families, lawyers, and Rick will all be dragged through a constitutionally infirm trial. The Sixth Amendment issue will permeate every aspect of this case, rendering a fair trial impossible and a tremendous waste of resources. Trial will be for practice only. Furthermore, the remedy on appeal will be retrial, not retrial with attorneys Baldwin and Rosie. Richard Allen wants a trial with attorneys Baldwin and Rosie, and only this court can grant that relief. Even if Richard Allen is acquitted at a trial in October of 2024 or months thereafter, his rights will still be violated because justice will have been long delayed while his 50-year-old health continues to deteriorate in prison. Justice too long delayed is justice denied. Martin Luther King Jr. Letter from Birmingham Jail. An interlocutory appeal would only exacerbate the harm Rick has already suffered. Even under the best of circumstances, an interlocutory appeal takes months before a decision is reached. Assuming one can receive permission from both the trial court and the Court of Appeals, we must remember that reversals are but palliatives. The cure lies in those remedial measures that will prevent the prejudice at its inception. Given respondents' comments regarding trial counsel's performance and credibility, she cannot oversee a trial where they represent Rick. A judge shall be disqualified in any proceeding in which her impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Indiana Judicial Conduct Rule 2.11. The respondent argued that neither Rick nor attorneys Baldwin and Rosie demonstrated that respondent had any bias or prejudice toward them. Yet even before the circumstances surrounding the discovery leak had been fully investigated, respondent indicated that she was leaning towards disqualifying counsel. Respondent also claimed counsel's motion for an immediate transfer of custody for Rick had a lot of inaccuracies when compared to the state's affidavits. Respondent indicated that she was denying the motion even though no hearing on the motion had taken place, and Rick had been given no opportunity to present evidence. I'm going to stop right there because she gave them every opportunity in that meeting on the 19th in her chambers. She asked multiple times, "Would you like a hearing on this? I would be glad to hold a hearing on this or have a hearing on this." They did not stand up and say yes. Respondent said the same thing about Rick's motion requesting a modification of the safekeeping order filed back in April of 2023, that it contained inaccuracies and falsehoods. Respondent based on the state's evidence presented at a hearing on the motion, but failed to acknowledge that respondent relieved the sheriff of his burden to transport Rick's primary witness to the hearing so that he could testify in support of Rick's motion. Major Leesenby was advised by the court to disregard any further efforts to retrieve inmate Baston from the Westville facility. Conclusion. This court is the only court now that can ensure Rick receives his fundamental right to counsel. A writ of mandamus is appropriate to reinstate attorneys Baldwin and Rosie as court-appointed counsel, to set a trial date within 70 days from the issuance of the writ, and to remove the special judge and appoint a new one. Respectfully submitted, Mark Lehman, Lehman Law Office, Logansport, Indiana, and Kara Schaefer Winecki, Winecki Law Office, Brooklyn, Indiana. Attorneys for Relator Richard Allen. Pursuant to Rule 3B of the Indiana Rules of Procedure for Original Actions, undersigned counsel certifies that the foregoing contains fewer than 4,200 words, exclusive of the items listed in Appellate Rule 44C, as counted by the word processing system used to prepare this brief, MS Word. Pursuant to Rule 2D of the Indiana Rules of Procedure for Original Actions, the foregoing was electronically filed using IEFS and on November 30th, 2023 was served upon the following through IEFS: Matthew R. Gutwain, Christopher S. Stake, Delaney and Delaney, Angela N. Sanchez, the Office of the Indiana Attorney General, Joel Shum, Bernice Corley, Indiana Public Defender Counsel. So there we've got it, guys. That is what they are saying. And as far as I'm concerned, they didn't say anything. And that's just my opinion. The Attorney General, I thought, really spelled it out well as to why she had the ability to react exactly the way in which she did. But this is what attorneys do, and they argue this kind of stuff all the time. They do this in front of, hey, CJK, welcome, my dear. They do this kind of stuff in front of courts all the time. And this is not anything that is new. And everybody who, I think what I said way back months ago, there's going to be a lot of proceedings in this case. There's going to be a lot of motions, a lot of filings, a lot of back and forth, a lot of arguing between the attorneys, between the prosecution, between the defense, because that's how these kinds of cases work. And that's what we have to look forward to. The sad thing is that the majority of the public isn't aware how these proceedings work and what they think is justice and what they perceive to be justice or not justice. And that's not the way this works. There's procedures that have to be followed. There are rules that must be abided by. And I don't think that Fran Gull was wrong in laying out the bullet points of all the things the last year that have concerned her regarding the adequate defense of Richard Allen by these two attorneys. I think they bumbled it at best. Now, was that part of their strategy all along? Was part of their strategy to get this stuff out into the public domain because they wanted to try their case in front of social media? 63 Clocks, thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting the channel and definitely for supporting tonight's live stream. I certainly appreciate it. I absolutely think that the judge had every right to be concerned. They weren't acting responsibly. And even if Westerman used to work for the law firm, he wasn't supposedly working for the law firm at this point of time. So what the heck was he doing wandering around in his office carte blanche? That's my first question. Who allows that in their law office? Get down. Hang on, guys. Get down. He almost unplugged my monitor. So, I mean, that's the first problem. And then the second problem is, what attorney who's been practicing for 35 or 40 years, however long it's been, what attorney is going to leave these things just laying around for anybody to get to? I haven't heard the outcome totally of the investigation that the Indiana State Police have done into this, but it was brought up right away on whether or not there is any culpability in this by the defense counsel. Were they aware of this? Was this a tactic of theirs, a defense tactic to get information into the public domain? I have to wonder about that, because everything I've heard, and I've not seen these photographs. I have no desire to see these photographs. If I, excuse me, sorry guys, my voice is starting to go too. If I wanted to see the photographs, I would want, I don't know what I would want. I don't know that I could do it. It's just my opinion. I know from working in medicine all the years that I did, treating patients and all of that, that when you see things, you can't unsee them. And that's not something that I want to see and remember the girls for. I don't have a need to see them. If I was a juror and I was sitting on the jury, yes. But I don't, for any other reason, I don't need to. But with that being said, there are people out there that have seen these photos, and there are people who I trust that with this case. Few, very few, but there are some, and they have seen these photographs. And these photographs are not as described that as the defense described them in their 135-page diatribe. They're not. And that is what I'm going to say, because I'm going to go with them on that and trust them, because I know that they don't. Hey, Brian, how are you? That they do not have any underlying reason to not be truthful and to try and steer the case in some strange direction. And they've always been able to cover the case with decorum and credibility and all of that. And my good friend GonZo and I have talked about this, and he warned me a long time ago, you have to be careful. Hey, devoted to Mariah, you have to be careful about who you listen to, and the things that you take as face value. And as a creator on YouTube, you learn that pretty quickly, and you usually learn it the hard way. So, um, but I definitely feel that they will get to the bottom of this. Um, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Um, I just cannot um understand sometimes some of the stuff that's said not only on national television regarding Delphi, um, but just, in some of the chats and some of the things and the way that people have a misunderstanding of the law. And it does surprise me and shock me at times that people don't understand how the judicial system works in our country. Um, I just I don't know. I just wish that we could get past this and move on down the road. Um, Sleuth has been having some really good conversations on his channel regarding some of this, and going back and looking at the evidence against Richard Allen, because there's definitely still that huge continuum who thinks that this is all a um a big conspiracy to convict a man who's innocent of this crime. And I'm just here to tell you that that is, to me, the most ridiculous assumption that's out there. I said it before and I will say it again. Why would they pick someone who's never been in trouble before, never been arrested, doesn't have any kind of a record to pin it on, when they could have pinned it on so many others that it would have been really easy to do so because of their records and what they were already in trouble for? It makes no sense, utterly no sense to think that way. And um my mom used to say this to me all the time, and she's just like, she used to tell me, "Kristen, common sense is not common." So, I mean, I've heard people today, even on lives that I was watching, use your common sense. Common sense is not common. Um, and thanks, devoted. The waters are definitely muddy. They are certainly muddied. Um, and yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, there is no reason to frame him. And then for those to say that it all happened just simply because they wanted to get Tony Liggett elected, whatever, I'm like, come on, people. This is not a John Grisham novel. This is not, this is real life here. I mean, it's most often Occam's razor says that it's the simplest explanation. Most often, it isn't some big convoluted thing, And oh, Jamie, there are so many people that have agendas that are, and it isn't justice for Abby and Libby. And that's what makes me angry. I think that's what gets my ire up quicker than anything, is that those people that have those agendas. And that's the thing that gets me, because that 138-page defense document that they put out, some of those say some of that stuff that was written in there, I read verbatim on Reddit. I know who said those things. It was in a Discord, for God's sake. A Discord group. And they think that we're all just, I guess, I don't know. We got off the boat yesterday or something. I don't know. I mean, seriously, I don't know what to think sometimes because there's just no way, you guys. And I've been saying it, since they came out with this whole, well, it's Odinism and, these Odinism practicers, because there's no such thing. I shouldn't say there's no such thing as an Odinite, but I would like to put it out there right now that Odinite is a mineral. It is not a correct word for a person who practices Odinism. So everybody should stop using it because you think you're talking about a mineral. But anyway, the Odinists who are being referenced here by the defense as having done this ritualistic thing in broad daylight on a Monday afternoon in a little tiny town. I mean, you just have to stop and think. And, one of my close friends here locally, I was discussing the case with, and they asked me a question about this whole Odin angle. And their comment was, has there ever been ritualistic killings in this country of teenagers in broad daylight before? What people don't understand, this isn't the movies. We don't have ritualistic killings very often. If we did, you guys, they would be in the news all the time. We would be hearing about them. Not ritualistic killings with human beings. Now, do people practice ritualistic stuff with animals and stuff like that? I'm sure they do. But and those are all kinds of things. I mean, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Is it possible? Sure. It's possible that somebody came down from Mars as well. Is it probable? No. You know what though, Jamie? One of the things that I've noticed that there's certain people that we were hearing from so much and they've gotten suddenly quiet. Have you noticed that? Because I have. Yeah, exactly. They are proud of it because they did help create it. I know two people, absolutely two people that had their hand in that with the defense team. They are helping the defense. And I have no idea why I just don't understand. I just don't understand. I don't know that they implicated themselves. That's what gets me. When we're talking about the gentleman that lives down in southern Indiana, like 200 and some miles away from Delphi, this person who supposedly said the things that they said has the mental capacity of a 7-year-old. And, one of the things that's always gotten me, I mean, we can talk about this forever, but one of the things that's always gotten to me is when you have these guys that are charged with these horrific crimes, murders, rapes, um, whatever, and they get convicted and they go to jail, and a lot of them go to death row. They just start becoming famous, and people start writing them letters and falling in love with them and all these things. And I'm just like, if that doesn't say, I mean, if that doesn't say a lot about society and where society is at and people in society, um, um, I just, oh, they don't scare me, Jamie. They don't scare me. They do not scare me. They probably think that I'm just a little, YouTuber that doesn't really, I don't really matter anyway. I've always spoken out. I've always had a very loud voice about supporting the family, not allowing people to create drama, whether it be in my Delphi's daughter's Reddit sub or here, and they know that. Um, so, like, I'm sure they're sick and busy. I'm sure they're sick and busy. Um, they're probably going to be a lot sicker and a lot busier because I guarantee you, you guys, you watch. One of the things that can happen in these cases when there's obstruction of justice or when there is um interceding, putting yourself and interceding yourself into a case and trying to, mess with it or screw with it, whatever. There are people that could very well be charged with obstruction of justice when this is all said and done. So, I mean, it's I will speak out on Twitter. I will speak out anywhere when I feel the need is there. I've said it before. I'm not YouTube police. I'm not here to police the streets of YouTube. I just ask people to to watch respectively and to weigh what they're hearing and to not just be bandwagoners and not to just jump on these conspiracy trains and and head out of Delphi, screaming to the wind about Odinism. So, oh yeah, Jamie, I know that there are people that are. I agree. I was wondering about that as well, Jamie. I've kind of been thinking along those lines as well, that Baldwin knew and that Mitch took the fall for him. It's a misdemeanor. It's not like he's being charged with a felony. Um, I doubt very seriously that, it'll be a fine. I don't think he'll get any jail time. So, and the way in which it happened, it allowed Baldwin to plead the fifth, to not know anything. I didn't know he was doing this. I didn't know it had happened, and all of that. When some of the people that are helping the defense had the pictures and had access to them. So it's just distasteful. Like I said, you have to understand that I watched an interview tonight before I came on my live I've been diligently following Brian Koberger's case and what's going on up there in Idaho. And we don't even have a trial date for Idaho. So at least we're doing better in Delphi than they are up in Idaho. But yeah, exactly. And I watched an interview where they were talking to Kaylee's mom and dad um, around November 13th of this year. And one of the things that Kaylee's mom said was, this isn't TV. This isn't, entertainment. This is our lives, and they're a mess. They've been ripped apart. Our hearts have been shredded. And this is so real for them. And sometimes I feel like everything that is going on, all this stuff that's going on around these cases, it 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 becomes almost like people have nothing better to do than sit on their computers all day long on social media and create drama. It's the way they live vicariously their lives because they don't have lives outside of that, which is sad. And then it makes you wonder how many of these people have serious mental illness that is untreated. Um, it's just horrible, Mariah. I mean, I look at the Idaho case and I think of, there are so many similarities to me in that case with Delphi that I see. And I'm like, I commend Ethan's parents. How in the world? They basically came to a decision a year ago, right after this happened, that they were not going to let this destroy their lives. And they've stuck to that. They stated that they will not be attending this trial for Brian Koberger because nothing coming out of it will bring Ethan back to them. And they know that, and they want to use the positive energy for good. I don't know how they do that. How do you not want to pay attention to what's happening with the case of the person who's been accused of taking your son away from you? Um, oh, I think so. Jamie, I I wouldn't be at all surprised. Seriously. Um, I have seen some stuff with some of these YouTubers that I'm just like, what in the world? I know. He was a triplet, and his siblings both are still there at the University of Idaho. Hey, Frank Meister, how are you, my dear? So good to see you. Um, and so, that's what I always want to bring us back to when we're talking about this case. We're talking about the drama and all of um, the case about, the Delphi murders, the case about Abby and Libby, and the fact that they were two beautiful daughters that were loved beyond loved by their families and their friends, and they are missed every single day by those people. Every time there is a family get together, whether it be a birth or an anniversary or a birthday or a holiday, they are reminded of what was taken from them in such a brutal, brutal way. And we can sit here and discuss it and talk about it and turn off our computers and go about our lives. They don't get to turn it off. it's how I try to explain when I talk or when I go talk to groups or whatever about my loss and the loss of my son. Um, you don't get to do it over. You don't get a redo. When you have that kind of a loss, it impacts your life forever. It changes you. You're no longer the same person. And you have to find some way to get through it. And it is not easy. I mean, he was 4 years old and I lost him to cancer. And he wasn't sick. He wasn't a sickly child. It was just boom. It was there one day. And yeah, I should get Frank on here. I've been talking about it forever. I love having Frank on. He's great. But when I met Frank at the Memorial Walk in October, Frank and I have a history. Dating back to way almost 2 years ago now. And we didn't start out on the friendliest of footing. But we got through that, and I respect him so much. He has proven himself and the kind of human being he is to me by how he covers this case. I've said it so many times, you guys. My intro says it. How we tell their story matters. It matters. Thank you, 63 clocks. Thank you guys so much. It gives me an understanding, not to the brutality of losing someone, but just the loss itself and the loss of a child. I know what that is, what that feels like, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And it forever changed me. I have scars that are forever embedded in me from that. And I did have to go on. I had to learn to go on. I had an 8-year-old daughter that I needed to protect and to love. And it's hard when you're trying to grieve and you have to continue to live life. You have to go to work. You have to get up. You have to be a wife. You have to be a mom. You have to, do all these adulting kind of things. And all you want to do is curl up in a ball. And, when I look at Carrie and Derek and Becky and Kelsey and Mike and Anna and her dad, Anna's dad, and Abby's grandparents, I think about how they're each on their own journey and their own path, because we all grieve so differently. And, in my conversations that I've had with Becky on this very subject, it's every day is a different day. And some days you don't want to get out of bed. And other days, you feel good. You feel joy, but you feel guilty for feeling joy. And I've heard people say that, that how can you possibly smile and laugh? Are we supposed to forever be, dish rags of tears and the inability to put together coherent sentences? I mean, that to me is such an unfair question to ask someone. And And I agree, Jamie. I am very proud of both of them. And Sleuth and I have a history as well. We had our own issue around the same time Frank and I did. And we've come full circle. I firmly and absolutely believe that he's in this for the right reasons, and he does his best. He's made mistakes, he's owned up to them. We all have. None of us are perfect, but he is trying to do the right thing by this case. And um you know, he uh, he's compassionate. He's a dad. He's a husband. He thinks about um I think what happens to us is when we cover cases like this, it's so easy to think about to think about our own kids, our own grandchildren. And even though you try to imagine, you can't unless you've gone through it. And there are so many people out there that have lost, and they're in our chats. And my heart goes out to those people because it's a club you never want to belong to. Um I am a Scorpio. And they are. And it's the same way that I feel about Steve from True Crime Web, and even Ruckus. I mean, Ruckus is a little rough around the edges, maybe to some people. But what I love about Ruckus is that Ruckus will tell you right up front, this is the way it is. And he doesn't pull any BS with anybody. You know where you stand with him right from the get-go. And I just love him. I mean, I just absolutely love him. And Mr. Steve and Mrs. Steve, I mean, come on. You know, I can't, like I said, I can't say enough about them. And they've brought such awareness to this case, and continue to do so. And some of the other cases that they're working on and covering, I'm so happy that they're out there helping families and doing the stuff, the cold case stuff. Um, I can't even imagine being with them in a car, Melissa. Can you imagine being in the back seat with those two up front? I would be like, my sides would hurt so bad from laughing. I don't know. I just don't know. But they do keep it real. And I love it because that's how I am. I'm the same kind of person. I shoot straight from the hip. you know I don't put on airs. This is me. You guys that watch me and have seen me all this time, I mean, I'm getting ready to have my 2nd year anniversary on YouTube. I can't believe that. But I firmly believe that you need to just be truthful, and if you're going to cover true crime and give it its due, then you have to do it from a factual stance. I mean, I don't see the reason to not. And we all know, we've watched plenty of them out there that aren't. They'll put out anything. They'll say anything. They can put together a really nice looking video, but man. Oh yeah, Randy Gravitz, he's just a big old teddy bear. He's amazing. He'd give you the shirt off of his back. He's just can't say enough about that man. And I really, really am glad that I got to meet him and meet some of these people, because yes, I will always stand up for the families and the victims, always. And I really do believe that it's important for us to remain respectful because we never know who's watching and who may be listening. And I don't ever want to add to their pain and to their suffering. I just don't. I made that a point when I started Delphi's Daughters on Reddit. My whole point was if I want to do no harm. I don't want um to be a cause of something like that for them. They're going through enough without me adding to it. So that's why I had really strict rules. And obviously some of the trolls, they don't like rules. That's not what they're here for. So um you just have to stand your ground and it's hard. Um you have to be, I'm willing to listen to other people and what they think. But as soon as they start, like I said, on the conspiracy trains, I'm just not one of those people. Oh, wow. Uh-oh. Don't be getting don't be getting feathers ruffled in Frank Meister's chat. He doesn't put up with it either. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna hear one way or the other from the Supreme Court on this case. They're gonna let us know um where this is going to go. Is it going to go back to the trial court? Are they going to allow Fran Gull to continue um, to run things the way she sees fit? Because if they send it back to the trial court, that's what they're saying. Or are they going to send it to the appellate court and let them uh, make that, determination on all of this? It's hard to say. But like I said, there are certain things in cases that have to be appealable. Things that, and I've said this before, if a court would allow every single motion to go through and everything to get, do you know how long it would take to get cases tried? I mean, I've watched murder cases, on 48 hours and some of those shows, 2020 or whatever, that literally took years, you guys, to get into court. Murder cases that took years and years to get the defendant into court. And I'm not so sure we're going to see a trial in 2024. I just am really starting to wonder about that. And there's a part of me that is still leaning to will he plead, or will he, I mean, obviously the state's going to have to accept a plea deal, but and they have to offer one. They may not even be wanting to do that. I mean, I haven't heard what, usually they talk to the families. Um that's awesome, Jamie. I'm always great and willing to have any new people come and listen because um I'm too old for the drama. You guys all know that. I'm just not, it's just not what I want to spend my time doing. Not anymore. And I was, like I said, came on the scene in YouTube and I was a channel moderator um for a few months before I decided to venture out on my own. I was involved in a lot of drama. And so yeah, I just it gives me a bad taste, leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I don't like it. So I he did. Yep. Frank, well, I think so did Randy. I mean, I think everybody was kind of like, you lie. I don't know if Mark's still in here or not, but they've all met me and they all know how old I am. I mean, I've told everyone how old I was, and everybody laughs because nobody can believe it. But trust me, my bones tell me each and every day. Although with all the working out that I've been doing and the weight I've been losing, I'm feeling stronger every single day. No, Melissa, I love you, but no, much older, much older. I just had my birthday on Halloween and I turned 62 years old. Yes. Yes, way. I was born in 1961. Yes, I know. 62. I have good DNA. I have good genes. Hey, Mark. You are still here. Um, but yeah, I was like, it's funny. I used to go to the fair. The Midwest is known for their county fairs and their state fairs and stuff. And I used to go to the fair as a kid because all of my relatives and stuff are farmers. And so anyway, it was so funny because I would go and you go to the guy that wants to guess your age, they never, ever, ever got me right. They were always, always off on my age. So don't feel bad, guys. And Jamie, my hair routine, I can tell you what it is eating healthy, absolutely 100% eating healthy, and and no longer using heat on my hair. I stopped doing all the nasty things to it. I still color it because I can't handle my gray, but and I trust me, it's gray up there. Um, but no heat. Don't put heat to your hair. Air dry it. And right now it looks kind of a mess because I let it air dry. I really didn't do a whole lot with it, and I didn't even really scrunch it much because it will curl a lot if I scrunch it when it's drying, but I didn't really do that today. Um, and I worked out, so I was it is but thank you for saying that. And thank you, Mark. Coming from people who are younger than me, I appreciate that. If I'm not physically in body, I am in soul. You need to embrace your curls, Melissa. Learn to love your curls. And if you can do that by taking care of them. I I'm trying to remember, Mark. I'm trying to remember. Um oh God. Oh, Frank Meister, you're a Cancer. That was my father. He was a Cancer. Um oh geez, Mark. I want to say you're in your late 30s, early 40s. Am I wrong? You're a water sign? Cool. Look at there. See? I like those water signs. You're 53. Okay. Well, you look a lot younger than that. You look a lot younger than that. Yep, that full moon was so bright and so beautiful, you guys. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I like my birthday on Halloween. It's a great birthday. My grandsons like it too, which is nice as well. But yeah. So Mark, what do you do to stay youthful? They all think we have this fountain of youth. I can't say that I do, but I know that it's funny. I do freak people out when they find out how old I am. So Frank's birthday is a national holiday, and he is a Cancer. So are you born on July 4th? See? Happy birthday, America and Frank. Very cool. Very cool. Well, those water signs, us water signs have to kind of stick together. Oh, I'm sure that's not true, Mariah. I am sure that that is not true. Devoted to Mariah. I like the name. But anyway, guys, well, it is, Frank's, he's one of our vets who, served and paid the price. I mean, his body is, you know, paying the price for his service. He was injured. And we owe a lot to people like that in this country. Our veterans don't get the respect that they deserve, in my opinion. And they're often forgotten. I always try to remember on, holidays and things like that, all the servicemen and women that are spread out all over the globe that don't get to be with their families so that we can be with ours. And that's something that I've always tried to remember. But yeah. But anyway, guys, that's it. I mean, I wanted to just go over those documents, let you guys know that, yeah, this is a response. It's not a huge deal. We expected this to be. They're not going to come out and say anything any differently than what they said. We shouldn't be shocked by the response from Richard Allen on this. It wasn't like he was going to come out and say something to the contrary. What we really are waiting to hear is what's going to happen and what the Supreme Court is going to do for all of this. That's where it's all gonna land. And we shall see. It's I hope we have a resolution to this year, because quite frankly, you guys, it'll be 7 years in February. 7 years. Can you guys believe that? I mean, I followed this case since day one, since they went missing. Thank you, Janie's child. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you, CJK. You guys make it what it is. If it wasn't for you guys being here and interacting with me, I'd just be talking to myself. So you guys help to make it a great live. We have a great community here behind the crime door. I'm very, very proud of everyone that comes to these lives. And I know that lately there's been a lot of my friends who go live at the same time I do. So it's been kind of hit and miss. But like I said, if you can't catch a live and you watch it on the replay, I totally understand. We all have lives. And now that we're coming in to the holidays and stuff, it's, you know, everybody's time is valuable. And guys, I got to say it, but my college basketball season is in full swing. And my Arizona Wildcats are number 2 in the country. I hope they don't get beat in the first round this year. Thank you, CJK. That is so nice of you to say. I tried really hard. Mariah, thank you so much. Cecil, great to see you. Yep. I've got some pretty good moderators in here. They do pretty good job of trying to keep the trolls at bay. So, and luckily tonight we didn't have any. So there you go. But thanks for coming. It's always a great time to see you guys and chat and catch up. I hope everybody has a great rest of your week and a good start to December. I want to go to that game, Mark. I want to go to that game. I really want to go to that game now that you said that. I may have to meet you over there. But yeah, I know it is. It's super expensive. It's super expensive. But yeah. I know. And it is. It's like, this family of people that you've got to know after all these years of following this case. It's kind of like we have become that, and it's 7 years of our lives spent with this. So, but anyway. That's crazy. I hadn't even seen that. That's ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I may watch it on TV maybe. That's crazy. But yeah, I want to go. I do want to go. I want to see. I don't get a chance to see them very often unless they play Illinois or something like that. So everybody have a good weekend. Stay safe out there. If you get a chance, pay it forward and remember to be kind because it doesn't take anything or cost anything to be kind. Mark, take care of yourself. Please be safe out there. The same to you, Frank. I will talk to you all soon. Yes, they are. But so is Purdue, from what I hear. So good night, everybody. So good to be with you.